Director of Public Relations.
There is no middle ground in today's housing market.
We started seeing a climb.
Sales of existing homes rose sharply.
So the homes that have been selling are at a higher price.
Let's begin.
All right, in 3, 2, 1.
It's time to cut through the clutter.
Refinancing your home loan.
This is your source for the latest real estate and home financing news. You can actually use.
My prediction is that most predictions will be wrong.
It's the Market Snapshot.
Going live.
And now, here's your host, Dan French.
And welcome to the Market Snapshot. It's Dan French from Nova Home Loans. I am your go-to mortgage specialist here in Las Vegas. In studio, as always, with Chakits, ITZ Krulsawat. He's from Simply Vegas on our new time from 1 to 2 p.m. on Saturday.
New time.
What's going on today, Chakits?
First show.
On Saturday.
On Saturday.
On Saturdays. I'll tell you right now, I was outside. It's beautiful. You got a lot of people out there, a lot of activity. You go to the stores, a lot of people out. It's good.
It's still hot outside, though.
It's not hot as it was. I mean, it's still hot, but it's not Vegas hot. So that's a good thing. It's starting to really cool down. You know, we looked at this last week. Will the Fed not raise interest rates? Why will they not? There was no surprise here. They made a decision not to raise interest rates. And the economy, you know, is still not doing so well. So I don't see how they could give us that indication that they will raise interest rates. You know, they've tried QE1, 2, 3, Operation Twist. It's inevitable. I mean,
helicopter money.
Yeah, we have a bubble here that's going to burst at some point. You know, you have Bank of International Settlements, which governs the Federal Reserve. Really about 60 banks as well. You know, there's 60 members, came out and said that they need more fiscal policy. Well, right now they're doing monetary policy where they're, you know, keeping rates low and pumping money into the economy. And fiscal policy is where the government adjusts its spending levels, tax rates to monitor and influence nation's economy. This is really the sister to monetary policy. And, you know, Fed Chair Yellen came out and she talked yesterday and she said, our decision does not reflect a lack of confidence in the economy. Conditions in the labor market are strengthening and we expect that to continue. And while inflation remains low, we expect it to raise to our 2% objective over time. Well, we've talked about core CPI hitting that 2.2% margin. So they've got that check mark. You know, the labor market has really, you know, shown some signs of strengthening, but it doesn't show overall. And she went on to say that, you know, short-term interest rates are still near zero, which means that we can more effectively respond to surprisingly strong inflation pressures in the future by raising rates than to weakening labor market and falling inflation by cutting rates. So why is inflation so important, and why are they trying to hit this 2% margin? You know, economists believe that higher inflation or a weaker U.S. dollar will boost the economy, and that's not the truth. You know, unstable, declining dollar really hurts rather than helps economic growth and jobs, Chuck. You know, the ultimate measure is the dollar. Clearly, the economy does need a stable dollar. The dollar was at 95.51 last week. The high we seen was in July at 97.5. The dollar will tank when the nation's debt exceeds its ability to repay its debts, including lower interest rates that it owes. So no government has the ability or has had the ability to control inflation. So why does the Fed think that they can do that through monetary policy and fiscal policy? What do you think?
Well, based upon the numbers that you're telling me, we already know that they can't raise the rates.
They can't raise the rates.
The problem is if they raise the rates, then our monetary system will collapse because of our bonds that are currently out there. And then if we tank, then everything else is going to tank. And you have to understand that the U.S., they use that as base currency around the world.
They do. And that's a reserve currency that everybody uses. When you look at it and how does it affect me as a consumer, well, if the dollar is not doing well, it will affect you in inflation.
Yes.
And so if that affects you, your costs and goods will go up. If you're trying to purchase a home or you're trying to get a loan or extend getting a loan, that could affect how much you're going to be able to purchase, because if your monthly expenditures are higher than what they are now, you have less money either savings or less money on a monthly basis to use.
Well, let me give you a prime example, like Venezuela. If you look at the price of eggs, it actually has inflated by 500%. So imagine paying $150 for a carton of eggs.
I don't think it's ever going to get that extreme. I think we're going to probably crash.
It's just an example.
It is an example, but I think we would crash. And I think the only time that you're going to see a big problem like that is when you said we lose our base currency as being the influence for everybody. You know, the dollar really is, everybody can use that dollar, and it's the barometer which everybody uses, correct?
Correct. So basically what you're saying is that for us to grow again as a nation, we should go ahead and destroy our economy and start all over, basically, kind of like a reset.
Exactly.
It's going to hurt everybody, but you're resetting and you can go ahead and start rebuilding from there.
Absolutely. This is Dan French with the Market Snapshot. Thank you for tuning in. And I just want to let you know that you can stream live with us on KDWN. You can go there and you can download the app through your iPhone, but there's also a website, kdwn.com. You can go and listen to us there. We also have a podcast that's really been doing well. We have an iTunes podcast. I want you to go and take a look at that. It's the Market Snapshot. Also, you can go to my website, danfrenchloans.com, danfrenchloans, LOANS.com. Go there, look at past shows. We have testimonial videos from clients that I've closed loans with, and I also have videos, past videos, really educational videos that could help you. If you're a buyer out there just kind of looking to see if this is the right time to buy a home, this might push you over the edge. You know, if you find out about bankruptcy or you find out about something out there that you need help with, I have videos I put together to help you with that. So we're going to go right into the housing market rundown. Are you ready for this?
I'm always ready.
So, honey, what are you going to rant about today? Can we get a little preview?
It's the Market Rundown.
And Chuck and I always start off with news and events. He's going to talk about the housing market going on here in Las Vegas. I'm going to talk about interest rates and where they're trending. The housing starts are up, but are down, but builders remain confident on building homes, even though the consumer confidence is down for new homes. How technology solutions can reduce mortgage loan turn times. And also we're going to talk about how there's no comment right now from Warren Buffett on Wells Fargo until after the election. And we're going to talk about that. You want to stay tuned for that. That's the second part of the hour. So let's go right into it. You know, you got any news and events today, Chuck?
Did you notice that we have Life is Beautiful this weekend?
What is Life is Beautiful? What is that?
I've never went down there because tickets are like $500.
My life is always beautiful. Why do you got to go somewhere to be beautiful?
It's the event that's downtown.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think it's probably the third or the fourth year. And to me, I'm not really into crowds, but I definitely like to people watch. But I don't know if I can fork up, $400 a ticket.
Why would you want to? I mean, I guess if you have nothing else to do.
If you got the money and that's what you're into.
But it's like this. I mean, I guess it's okay. I mean, if you're somebody out there and you just want to have some type of event to go to, nothing else really intrigues you, you're going to go down there to be beautiful or what?
I'm already beautiful.
You're already beautiful?
Yeah, I'm already beautiful.
Okay. All right. All right. Anything else for me?
No, that's all I got.
All right, so let's talk about the housing starts, which declined. Builders do remain confident. Single-family housing starts in August were at a rate of 722,000, which represents 6% decline from the revised July figure of 768,000. Now, housing starts and the housing economy. Now, when you talk about that, the housing starts, it's not a big part of what the overall economic data is for, not just GDP, but overall for the economy, correct? Yeah. So it's a very small margin, but it's still good to know kind of what's going on out there. So despite all these things that's going on where you hear, prices are going up, they're reaching levels, I think we're at 2% or down a little bit as far as what it was in 2005 and 6. We're only really 2% away from where it was at its peak when it burst. So what do you think is going to happen? I mean, do you think builders are going to keep, because the consumer confidence is there, that they're going to keep building new homes? And Vegas looks like it's not slowing down.
Well, I think they're going to keep building homes because the rates are so low still that it doesn't even really matter. You can keep building, and all the stuff that they have, they're just going to hold on to it. And remember, they're just not building a bunch of homes. It's all spec home building.
Right.
So basically, you're coming in, you're buying a home, then they build it. Well, that's how it works.
Builders are really going off of consumer confidence on this.
Yeah.
I mean, they think that because they've had, some rise in home buying recently, maybe they've had a little bit better than expected job growth, that there are job news, that they're going to keep, putting and funding money and building homes, that there's enough consumers out there to come in and buy these homes.
Well, this information is actually nationwide, but if we take a look at Las Vegas for new home builders right now, if you take a look, they're giving incentives. Their down payment now, I've seen as earnest money deposit is down to $500. Before you had to put up to like $3,000. Not only that, I've seen that they're giving out a lot of incentives just to get into a new homes. Now, when the market was really hot, I'm talking about hot, where you couldn't get into a new home, you had to pay for your own closing costs. There was no incentives. So what is that telling you if the home builders are giving you these type of incentives?
Absolutely. Let's talk about that for a second. I've had buyers come in recently that in our past would say, I'm getting a bunch of money thrown at me. I got all these incentives. All these things really, to me, is negative equity. But if you're getting into a new home, you're buying what you pay for.
Yes.
So getting that, they're now coming and saying, you know what? Builders aren't really giving me all those incentives. What can you do for me?
Yeah.
And a lot of times through our company, we can give a lender credit, FHA and VA majority, which is a veteran loan. We could do that primarily through those two. I mean, that still offers in a conventional loan, but it helps the buyer. And I don't think that there's such a huge separation now with the in-house lender from a builder versus what I can do. I mean, it was at some point, but I don't think it's like that anymore. What do you think?
Now, let's go back to lender's credit first for the listeners out there. So if I'm buying a new home and it just does not make sense because I can't get that closing cost, and you say, you know what, I can get you lender credit. Explain exactly what that is.
So basically it's like this. If you go into a new home build and they're trying to obviously entice you to work with their lender, I think there is some incentives for everybody.
Yes.
When you do that, then the lender will say, okay, well, you know, what can I do as far as giving you a lender credit? A lot of times builders would use a lender credit from the lender, which is basically a rebate off of the interest rate when you lock. When they get that lender credit, they're saying, hey, here's closing costs, and the builder's helping you.
Yeah.
Really, that's not the case. The case is you're getting a lender credit, the same thing I would be able to do, and the lender credit is really a rebate off of your interest rate when you lock in.
So let's talk about that. Why do you think the builder is always pushing to their third-party company to use their lender?
Well, everybody wants to save money, and they want to have a good business relationship, and if you have incentive that you say, if I'm sitting in-house, and I have people walking in to meet me, and I'm a lender, well, guess what? That's a big perk.
Yeah.
So you better be able to pay that back, or not pay it back, but have some other incentives to give back. And I think that's why. I mean, the builder's always looking to save money. They're always looking to give a little bit of an edge compared to other builders. So is it a bad thing? No. But is it something that was kind of, I would say, put out there a lot where it would, turn away business from other lenders? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is the problem I have. Sometimes when we walk in with a client and they say, hey, if you use our lender, we're going to give you a certain amount of dollar in credits. You know what? That's BS, because here's the thing. I can still negotiate the closing costs and get the incentives paid for and get you with the right lender and get you the best rate as possible. Just because you're getting a $10,000 credit from that lender because you're being steered, and I'm going to say it, steered to that lender,
right?
Dude, you need to take a look at the total closing costs, because you could actually be paying that yourself, and you're thinking that you're getting a credit, but you're really not getting a credit.
And that credit from me comes off of a par rate. What that means is that it's a rate that I would offer anybody. It's not I'm raising your rate so I can give you have that option, but whatever I quote you as far as a rate, there is a rebate back on that interest rate. And a lot of times it's hit and miss. I had somebody come in and get $1,500. I had somebody come in and get $400. It's still something, but different programs offer a different amount of rebate.
Now, also, I want to say, not all lenders are bad, especially the in-house lenders that they use. I just want the consumers out there to make sure that you run your numbers and make sure to get that lending estimate to compare apples to apples.
Speaking of new home builds here in Las Vegas, right now, the builder confidence remains solid in the aftermath, even with weak GDP numbers. Now, what is the measure of GDP?
I think it's 1.1% right now.
Okay, and that's a measure of goods and services and how well it's doing. The only reason I would buy right now is if I looked at the appreciation here in Las Vegas, I don't know if I would make a decision right away about buying. And I understand that. It's because how far have we appreciated? Well, if you go back to 2005 and 6, like I said, we're 2% away from where we're at then. Would I buy a house right now? I think I would always do it as long as cheap money's there. As long as rates are low and they stay and hover right around where they're at, I don't see them going up.
Well,
I would seriously consider buying a house.
Well, let's figure it out. Right now, if you get into a home, let's just say at 3.5% on average at $240,000, what would a payment like that be? Let's just say
$240,000. You're probably looking with taxes and insurance, no HOA, right around $1,350 a month.
Should they raise interest rate because the economy tanks? When the economy tanks, what do they have to do? They have to raise interest rates. So now if they raise it at 7%, which is still a great deal, and let's say the economy drops by 20%. Now a home is at $200,000, but you're at a 7% interest rate. You're kind of almost breaking even still.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you 100%. So like I said, if you look at the numbers, we haven't seen, if it was back in 2010 and 11, it doesn't matter if it was a 7% interest rate, because where was prices at in 2010 and 11? They were low.
Pretty low, yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing homes right now that are being sold for $225, right around $150,000.
I couldn't believe it. And then back then, consumers were actually complaining about how expensive those homes were.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm with them. Whoever the booers are.
Yeah.
So technology solutions can reduce mortgage loan turn times. I've seen this quite a bit. We've talked about TRID and the effect that TRID has. They've seen it go all the way up on some refinances up to 60 days. Purchase has gone up to sometimes in 50 days. Now it's gotten better, but what they're stating is that the loan officer and actually the lender needs to have certain milestones and really some type of plan in place so they can get these back to 30 to 35 days, which they started to do. But what we've seen too recently is talking about that. We have seen an increase of not only in buyers here, but we've seen a decrease in the amount of time it's taking to close a loan. A lot of that is due to technology. At Nova Home Loans, we have a milestone which basically check marks everything. I'm hearing from realtors right now that there's a new contract that's coming out. And the new contract that comes out is really going to dictate you have a certain time to do everything. You have a time to order the appraisal. You have so much time to do so many things on this contract. I haven't seen it yet, but we're kind of giving you the news before it really comes out. What do you think about that? Have you heard about it?
You know what? I haven't heard about that, but now I'm going to actually look into it this week to find out exactly what's going on. But I think we need actually something like that in place because it holds the buyer accountable and also holds the seller accountable. We're going through a transaction right now with a VA, and the seller does not want to pay for the pest inspection when it's actually required, but they're telling us, hey, let's just go ahead and put it on the HUD and we'll pay for it at the close of escrow. No, you got to pay for it now so that way we can get the deal done.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. You got this contract. How many times you put a due diligence period on the contract anyways? You always have, 15 days a lot of times for the appraisal to come back, or 10 days to say if you want to opt out or not. I have one where it's 17 days right now in contract that you have to have full underwritten approval.
Wow.
So these things are all different, but this is going to be kind of a uniform thing where everybody's going to have certain time frames as far as what to accomplish going through the loan process. This could potentially help anybody out there that's a lender too. If you put the process in the right process in place, have the right technology, there should be no reason why you can never not meet the close of escrow.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. I think lenders need to put in a milestone. We've already had that. We put that in place, but I think a lot of people don't have a milestone where it kind of checks off where you're going through the process. And you know what I'm talking about, right, Chuck?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. But in the contract, the way it's written out, you actually do have these steps as far as, your due diligence period that's written out, also your appraisal.
But you know what?
The appraisal, the home inspection, and, everything as far as the HOA resale package. So all that is spelled out, and that's where we really work with that lender to make sure they can actually close on time within that time period.
But the reason why I'm bringing this up is now there's repercussion if you don't meet those time frames. Like a lot of times you could tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but if you have something going through here and you say, well, it's got to meet 15 days, let's say it's 18 days, do they hold that accountable really? Or is it just kind of like, hey, we wanted it to be there, I just want to see where it's at.
Yes, they do, and the seller could actually hold the buyer accountable, or the buyer can hold the seller accountable. But typically, at the end of the day, the buyer and the seller, they actually want to get the deal done. And what happens is both agents are working to get the deal done, okay? So you have to keep that in mind. So now, there are some times where the seller can get very bitter or the buyer can get bitter. Next thing you know, we can end up at mediation, okay?
So I want to say this. Speaking of TRID, we're going right into appraisals, okay? As a lender, I don't know about you, Chuck, with you being a realtor, have you seen increased turn times on appraisals?
You know what? It's taking a very long time to get these appraisals back. I did one personally. It took me about 14 days, but I think that had to do with an investment property. And also, I noticed some of these appraisals are being a little bit conservative for some apparent reason.
Absolutely.
I don't know why.
So,
and we're talking about $5,000 or $10,000.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Appraisers have gone from 3 comps and outside photos to an average of 40 pages, interior photos included, and 6 comp listings. All appraisers are graded by their customers as well now. So I don't know if you know that. That is good.
That is good.
If you miss something minor as an appraiser, you are downgraded and your earnings potentially could suffer because now you're being looked at like a lender would be looked at. Like if I have a problem.
And we need that.
Well, we do need that because everybody's got to be held accountable.
Correct.
You know, and if you have a certain department that's not. So what's unfortunate about it is if you're out there and you're buying a home and you're in contract or you're thinking about buying a home and you're making offers, you need to plan at least a couple weeks ahead of time because I'm telling you right now, the appraisals that we had 3 to 5 days, they're not coming back in 3 to 5 days. We're going as far as VA, veteran loans, VA appraisals used to take 2 weeks, or they always almost take 2 weeks. They're starting to get to that level for just normal appraisals now.
And that's why it's very important that you really run the comps before you submit the offer. Because right now, I'm challenging an appraiser right now. He's got a total of 6 comps, but 2 are in contingents and 2 are in ER status, which means they're still available on the market. How do you compare that? So what I'm trying to say is that you need an agent that can actually step up to the plate so that way they can hit the ball for you. And if they got to challenge that appraiser to get the deal done, that's the kind of agent that you need.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you something. You don't want to be on that blacklist for Fannie and Freddie as far as an appraiser.
I'm telling you.
You're on that blacklist. Your income and your level of work will decline dramatically. So that's something you definitely don't want to be on. So going into that, Warren Buffett comes out and he says there's no comment on Wells Fargo until after the election. While the growing scandal regarding Wells Fargo's improper creation of deposit and credit card accounts has become political, one of the most powerful and controversial housing industry figures that happens to be Wells Fargo's largest shareholder is refusing to public address the issue until the November election is over. Basically, Warren Buffett and Wells Fargo, there's a controversy going on, and nobody really knows how to nobody knows how to handle this problem.
So what is going on with Wells Fargo and the CEO?
So 500 million shares of Wells Fargo, approximately 10% holding in San Francisco-based company. Buffett offered no specific explanation on the public silence on why he wanted to wait for the election's conclusion to speak. So basically, he's holding off. There's a Wells Fargo scandal that did not directly involve mortgage origination or servicing, although many customers did suffer credit report damage when the bank opened up unauthorized accounts in their name. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, so basically what they did was push all their employees to have all these clients to open up at least 8 accounts.
8 accounts.
8 accounts. So what would happen was that would prop up the market for all the shareholders for Wells Fargo.
Right.
And the CEO, John Snuff, would actually make about $3 million this year just by propping up the market.
Isn't that amazing? So you got these bank CEOs and people behind the scenes, and I was talking to somebody else. Bank managers make money and get bonuses off of people and their hard-earned money.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you how.
Oh,
yeah.
good for
Here's
you.
how this works. Basically, if you have a, let's say you overdraft fee or any additional fees that goes on, they actually promote it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the year, the bank makes money off of you.
Yes.
And in that bank manager or the managerial of that specific entity, they're the ones that get the bonus.
Yes.
And it's like banks are always looking ways to make money off of consumers. This is another example. I mean, they're trying to figure out ways in the banking world to make money off of people. That's such a wrong thing to do? What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. The amazing part is that the CEO did not get fired or upper level management didn't get fired, but you had over 1,000 employees that were actually pushing these type of products on these consumers, and they all got fired.
Well, here's the thing. Look at it from a bank standpoint.
Yeah.
You're basically probably, I hate to say it's not fraud, but you're basically
That's fraud.
You're basically putting people out there to recruit just so you can get a higher, return on what you're doing as far as if you're getting a bonus or whatever it is. So that's a problem. I mean, you can't have it. It seems like in the banking world, there's always somebody inventing or finding new ways to make money. And it's because money is really, it's moved so much and there's so many ways that people make money off of other people.
Yeah.
This is another example.
This is what I don't understand. Almost 80% of the population is living paycheck to paycheck, right? Why do you need 8 accounts?
Well, what are you going to use it for?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, you're going to put $5 in each one? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. So they get some type of return because they're opening accounts.
Yeah.
That's just all phony. I mean, everything it seems like that goes on is phony. And the people that start these programs and all these, you never hear about them really serving any time or doing anything that would basically give them a slap on the hand that says you can't do these types of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We got a lot of things going over here till we're going to talk about the housing market here coming up. We're also going to talk about interest rate trending. And I'm going to talk about where the levels are at for the appreciation mark here in Las Vegas for homes. We'll be right back.
Get the latest financing and real estate news anytime you like. Just log on to danfrenchloans.com.
Oh, sure, I can do that.
Don't you dare go away. More with Dan and Company coming right up here on the Market Snapshot. You provide the radio, they'll provide the content.
No problem.
It's the Market Snapshot on News Talk 720 KDWN.
This is Dan French from Nova Home Loans, your go-to mortgage specialist here in Las Vegas. I'm in studio as always with Chakits ITZ Krulsawat from Simply Vegas, wearing his big realtor shirt today.
Hey, baby.
Are you trying to represent with the big R?
Yeah.
The big realtor.
Hey, baby.
All right.
I went to the post office the other day. This Asian
What's
lady.
a post office?
The post office.
Oh, I do everything online. So,
do you? So I went. I was dropping off some mailers, and this Asian lady. She's so vibrant and lively.
Yeah. Why does she got to be Asian?
Well, because she is Asian.
Oh, okay.
And every time I go up, she always says, "Hey, baby, how can I help you, baby? Come here, baby."
But you're Asian.
Yeah.
She's Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe maybe there's something there, even though you got that wedding ring on.
Well, she's about 40 years older than I am.
Hey, it's never hurts to try, Chuck.
I guess older the berry, sweeter the juice.
Okay. As always, you can stream live with us on danfrenchloans.com, danfrenchloans.com. Go there and see past shows, past testimonial videos. Really, you can find anything about me on there. You can also go and visit our podcast through iTunes, The Market Snapshot. Go subscribe. We need subscribers. We've had a lot of people visit also our website. Trying to get an average of 600-700 people. I think right now I'm at 400 to 500 people on average going there on a weekly basis, looking at our information. That's great, isn't it, Chuck?
That is. Did anybody ask for your autograph yet?
No, I'm not that big, Chuck. Come on.
Not yet?
No. I mean, I got my makeup department in the back,
that's
but
true.
that's about as far as it goes.
You got security and everything?
I got security when I'm walking in. You know, you got people waiting at the doors, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing. Anyways. Also, I want to tell everybody out there, I went last night and I was, looking around. I was like, what do you want to do tonight? Let's go do something, And so we went and seen a movie. And the movie we went to see.
Is that why you didn't call me back?
That's exactly. I just didn't want to talk.
You was like, Chuck, I'll call you back.
I was ducking your calls.
I was like, okay.
Anyways, so we've seen the new movie with Denzel Washington, that Western movie. Great movie. It's funny, man. I'll go down there. And
Is that a fiction movie or nonfiction?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
But I do know that it was entertaining. It had a good plot. And I think anything Denzel does, it's almost like he's got that charisma.
Yeah, he's got that good acting skills.
He does, man. It's like this. You could have the plot is just dumb, or the storyline is just dumb. But he plays in it. And I'll tell you, every time I'm interested. I don't know if it's his voice or how he presents himself.
He's like a man's man.
It's like it's almost like he's just got it. You know what I mean? Like you look at somebody, he knows he's got it.
Yeah.
And he's got it. But anyways, I like that movie. It was a good movie. I recommend anybody out there to go and check that movie out. It's pretty good. I mean, it's very entertaining. I'm always about the action. I like that whole, there's a person that saves the day type of deal. And I check it out.
Let me ask you this. Did you buy popcorn?
Yes, but I was really holding my hand in my pocket like, should I do it or should I not?
Oh, I could see.
And I'll tell you right now, when you start to see $8, $9, $10 for a popcorn, I'm sitting there going, you know how many bags of popcorn I could buy at the store?
Did you get soda?
I did. I'm going to tell you something.
Oh my gosh.
I felt like I was drugged or something because when I got done, it was like $20. And I'm like, that's as much as the movies cost. $20. It was two things.
Yeah.
You got to pay for the experience, but come on.
So
right?
who all went? Just you and your girl?
Yeah. I mean, we just all went and hung out and had a good time. But, man, when you looking back, it's like that's a $50 pop.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the big IMAX theater.
Yeah.
So that's great. The thing about that is that when you walk in, not many people want to put that extra $2 or $3 into a movie ticket.
Yeah.
So we did.
Where was that IMAX theater?
We went over to South Point.
Oh, South Point. Gotcha.
Yeah. So we went over there. It's a nice theater. I mean, but the thing is you walk in, the regular normal price, it was packed.
Yeah.
He's like, take a pic and look at what where you want a seat. And I'm sitting there like, man, this thing has got all seating. I'm like, does nobody want to watch this movie? But then I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's because it's an IMAX.
What's the difference between the standard and IMAX?
Well, the IMAX, I think, has a bigger screen, and it also has that surround sound, so it kind of makes those sounds go right past your ear.
Well, that's great. I definitely want cushion, too, like as far as
if you're going to do it right. But the thing is, I didn't know I was going into it because I really didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that we really got to pick the seat we wanted for an extra $3. Why would you not do that?
Now, was it like comfortable seats, like couches?
Yeah, it was
reclining.
It wasn't Galaxy Theater comfortable where I'm lounging.
Well, they're starting to do that all over now.
But it was definitely pillow top.
Oh, okay. Pillow top.
If I got there long enough, if I stayed there long enough, I'd fall asleep. So
staff waking you up. You got to leave, sir.
Popcorn hanging out the side. All right, let's go back into the market and housing market. What do you got for us today on the housing market, Chuck?
With the housing market, if we take a look at the total inventory, is about 8,098 properties for single-family residents.
Is that low or high? I mean,
that's actually high, and I'm going to get to that here in a minute. If we take a look, since last week and a couple months ago, we're sitting around 7,500 homes, but we've increased. The amazing thing is, if we take a look at the price reductions, about 12% of the properties are doing a price reduction. So what that means...
That means everybody's overpricing their home.
Correct. Everybody's overpricing their home. And it's just not moving, even though the average days in the market right now for a home is less than 20 days. Okay,
it's two things.
Yeah.
What is the appraisal, and what is the public willing to pay for?
Exactly.
So obviously it's too high.
So what is that telling you now that we're coming into the winter months? We're coming into election. Some people are trying to hold off a little bit to see what's going to happen with the election. I do have a couple clients. They want to see what's going to take place on November 9th. Who will be elected?
Well, I think everything's being stagnated right now.
Yes.
The economy's been just kept at an even keel. Everybody's always like, well, the economy's not, it's not doing well, but it's great from what everybody's saying through the politician side of it.
Yeah.
I just don't see how all of this is going on, that people can't see and read between the lines, that this is all being held until the election.
Well, I think a lot of people are starting to open up a little bit.
Right.
And people are really starting to see what's really going on. And that's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You have to understand that if rates increase, if the market tanks, rate increases, you may want to consider financing now. And that's the truth.
Let's say this, though. If you're looking at purchasing a home, the only reason I would purchase, like I said, is money's cheap. So what if they do negative interest rates? What is negative interest rates?
Well, that means if you have money in the bank, they're going to be taxing you.
They're going to tax you, and you're being charged to hold your money there.
That's amazing.
Listen, like I said, banks figure out ways, any way that they can, to maximize their profits.
So right after this show, we're going right back to Wells Fargo. I'm pulling my money out.
And I'm going to open up 8 accounts.
So if we take a look at 90% of the market right now are actually traditional sales. This is where the sellers actually have some equity into their property, and they want to sell it for a profit. But if we take a look, about almost 20% of those people that are actually selling, what are they doing? Cashing out that money, upgrading to a new home.
Everybody's doing that right now.
A lot. I have clients that are selling their home, buying a brand new home.
That's the thing going on right now.
And here's the thing. They don't even care if the market tanks, because let me tell you why. When they bought in 2011 and 12, they're making about $100,000 profit. It doesn't even matter at that point. That money's not even theirs.
Yeah. I don't understand why. Let me say this. When this money's this cheap, and then you have those opportunities, everybody's got that appreciation back. It's very rare that you get somebody that talks about a HARP refinance or getting that HARP refinance. They sent over an email last week, goes, do you do HARP refinances? I'm telling you, I get those now maybe once a week. I used to get them all the time.
Yeah.
So the equity's back. People are looking to take that money and reinvest it. A lot of times to buy a bigger home. They're trying to buy that dream home. A lot of them want to buy that home that they're going to stay into.
Short sales went from 6% all the way up to 7% now we're hovering at. So what that means is if you are a buyer and you actually have some time to buy and you can't get into a home right now because you are under the price point of $240,000 and under, and it's just so hard to get your offer accepted, you may want to steer towards a short sale. And the reason why is because the average days on the market on the short sale is 120 days. Nobody wants to buy a short sale because whoever's buying now, they want to move into a home within 45 days of a fully executed contract. So if you're sitting on the sidelines thinking about buying and you can't get into a home, you might want to look at a short sales. And let me tell you why a short sale is good. Number one, normally they maintain the property. Okay. Number two, the seller definitely wants to work with the buyer to get the deal done. Now, you can always ask for a discount, but keep in mind, it's really not up to the seller. It's really up to the bank. And we're going through a transaction right now where we're offering $193,000, even though the property is worth $200,000, but the seller doesn't care because the property's been on the market for so long. At that point, they're just willing to accept anything. But if you can sit on the sidelines and put that property on the side and let that incubate, and if you can get a discounted price, why not do that?
Absolutely. Are they giving lender credit right now, or not lender credit, but are they giving closing costs from the bank?
Oh, let me tell you this, man. That's another thing. Short sales, I'm starting to see a lot of times the banks, what they're doing is not paying for the closing costs.
They used to always pay for the closing costs. I mean, that was like almost a normal thing. Hey, come in. We obviously want to get this property sold. We're going to do anything we can, throw everything we can at you to try to get into this house. And now they're not doing it. Why?
You know what? Because the banks understand, or the asset manager understand what that property's worth. And what happens is, why that property's under contract, you're going through the whole process of getting it approved. If that buyer decides to default, or not default, but if they decide to pull out because they just don't want that property, now the listing agent will put that property back on the market as an approved short sale. So now, as it is an approved short sale, the next buyer that jumps in, they can streamline that process, and it happens even faster.
Multiple buyer offers right now. That's why. Multiple buyers, and you know what? If somebody falls... And
we got a backup. Boom.
We got somebody backed up coming in to get that incentive, not getting those closing costs paid now.
Now, the original buyer that put that deal together that couldn't execute it because the bank came back for too much more money, at that point, you just did the work for the next buyer that's lined up. Okay, moving on to bank-owned properties. We are now at a 3% for bank-owned properties at this time. Bank-owned, still great, but some of these bank-owned properties, they do need some work to the property, and a lot of times they will not be qualified for VA or FHA buyers, so keep that in mind. You don't want to buy a property like that unless you do your complete inspections to these properties. Just due to the fact that the bank has never lived into the property.
Quick question. I had somebody come in and say, should I get a home inspection? Right? That's obviously an option to the buyer. Don't you recommend it every time, though? I mean,
yes.
Somebody just opt out of it. They said, I didn't want to do a home inspection. I get that. But you could probably find something like mold or something that maybe the appraiser doesn't find, right?
Well, not only that, you can use that towards your negotiating strategies to ask for a price reduction. But understand, this is probably going to be the one biggest investment in your life. You should spend that money, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, you do not want to buy a lemon, and you want to understand what you are buying, and that is money well spent. Let me tell you this story. There was an investor that I was working with. I had a suspicion that there was mold in the property. She did not want to do a home inspection. I finally convinced her. She spent $375. She did the home inspection. The AC was leaking in the wall for years, and it had nothing but mold. What did she do? She canceled out of that deal.
Absolutely.
The funny thing is that next investment property we bought, she didn't do a home inspection.
I got a thing for you, is that somebody bought a house that I recently got a loan for. Again, that home inspection, she had the home inspection.
Yeah.
They also had the appraisal. What the seller did is they painted over the mold, though. They found it out afterwards. And you know what? Mm-hmm. Again, not only do the home inspection, find a good person to do the home inspection. Make sure they're evaluating that property properly.
There was a client that we were in contract a few months ago where I literally got him about $30,000 on a price reduction from the home inspection, as far as for the sewage cap and also the roof, and there were some plumbing issues.
Right.
I was able to go back to the seller, provide the information, gather up the contract as far as how much it's going to cost to repair everything, and we got a price reduction, and that's how you negotiate a deal.
That's it. I love these cheers. Anything else on the housing market?
Well, we got one more. If we are looking at homes below $400,000 and less, I'm sure you're going to want to know where the top appreciation of zip codes are. 89084.
89084.
Well, we talked about this, okay?
Yeah.
All the way out north.
That might not be good, though, if it has the highest appreciation, because you're paying more for your money, right? Or more for the property.
You're absolutely right. But let me explain. The reason why we're up at 11% is a lot of people are getting pushed out of Henderson, the south side, the southwest, and also the Summerlin side, okay? What they are starting to realize, and we talk about this all the time, that money is cheap.
Yep.
But obviously you want more bang for your buck.
More bang for that buck.
Are you willing to pay $150 a square foot for a home, or are you willing to pay $100 a square foot for a home and you get better upgrades?
Some people are willing to do it. Location might be the biggest and most important thing.
You're absolutely right.
Some people want to blend it where they don't mind being in, the Beverly Hills of Las Vegas, but they're in between, like you said, and they're in a decent location, but they're not paying as high as square footage as it would be if they got into a nice location. So you got to find those people. Everybody's different, right? So
you're absolutely right. Well, you know what? I'm burned out, so I'm going to have to let you take over.
You're burned out? Interest rate trending. You ready for interest rate trending?
Let's do this.
All right, every week we talk about mortgage application volume, mortgage refis, fewer purchases closed in August. The number of refinances took a spike this summer, with 43% of all closed loans coming from the refinance activity. In July, 37% of closed loans were refinances in comparison to 56% of loans in August. So August is obviously showing some good signs there. Refinance close rates rose to 67.1% in August. This was actually up from 66.6% in July. So all this is good news for refinances and purchases. I had a person that came in and refinanced. She's doing this now, paying off 3 trade lines because she has that equity, and they have that money in their property now. Take advantage of that. If you have an interest rate at 12% or even 8 or 9%, and you're borrowing money, replacing that money at a 3 or 4%, why not do that? Take advantage of refinances. Rates are low. The average FICO score for August was 731, while conventional purchase FICO scores were held steady at 754. I'll tell you right now, FICO scores and the credit scores are starting to get better. I've seen it consistently get better. We still have those buyers out there. You said, obviously, there's buyers living paycheck to paycheck. They might struggle to get their scores up, but people are starting to get smarter. Millennials all the way to baby boomers are understanding how to get that credit score up. And I'll tell you right now, we have a free credit services at Nova Home Loans. So if you want to take advantage of that, maybe you're at a 590 or a 600, you want to get to a 640, give us a call outside studio. You can call me at 702-216-3907. That number will get you started on doing a free application, which will start with free credit services. That will get your scores up for free. Let's talk about interest rates and where they trended. Mortgage bond prices finished a week higher, which helped rates fall. There was some seesaw trading, but within a relatively narrow ahead of the Fed meeting. We talked about that. They didn't raise rates. The data was mixed. The housing starts were at 1,142 versus the expected 1,186. They had expectations for job claims at 262,000. The continuing claims for unemployment, 2,143. And we always talk about unemployment. What's the true number for unemployment, Chuck?
Well, I don't know what the true number is, but they're saying it's only at 4.8, but here in Las Vegas is 6.2%.
But that's on the claims. Yeah. That's not on the true number. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there not trying for unemployment that they're not putting into these numbers.
Well, you're absolutely right, because the way they calculate it is if you go if you request for unemployment for the first 30 days, after the 30 days, you're no longer on that list, so you're not accounted for.
So at the end of the week, mortgage interest rates finished the week approximately 3/8 of a discount point better. That means rates are good right now. If you have not or you missed that train to refinance, give us a call outside studio. Find me online. We'll do a refinance. We'll get you a lower interest rate, and we'll start saving you some money. Let's go right into talk about what Nevada is offering here. There was a survey that came out, the measures of percentage of people that have the median prices resale home at 5% down. So people that have the ability to put 5% down rate showed a decline all the way from 2014 to 2015, but has shown the last 3 months here stagnation. And it's actually showed a small decline. That means that the number of people that have the ability to put 5% down is starting to go down a little bit. And it's kind of even-keeled itself, where it's an even keel where there's not a lot of up or down progression with down payment.
Well, why would you put down 5% if you could put down 3.5%?
Well, because if you do 5%, you can always go up to the 417 mark. If you put 3.5, which FHA's cap limit is, it's 287.5. What's the average median price home right now?
Right, 240. But let me ask you this: is there mortgage insurance premium at the 5% down?
You always have mortgage insurance if you don't have 20% down or more.
Gotcha.
All right. If your property has 20% or more equity, then you have the ability to probably look at your servicer, talk to them, and find out if you can remove it altogether.
So you might want to use that if you want to go higher on a price point if
Absolutely.
you're qualified for. Okay.
Absolutely. But you see a decline. And what that means is that maybe it's election time. Yeah. Maybe it's starting to stagnate. Things are starting to slow down a little bit. We're in the months where it's starting to slow down for our industries. So you look at resale homes, which are currently underperforming with overall value, while new construction continues to perform at a high level. We talked about why. Consumer confidence still is there, and the buyers are there for whatever reason, maybe because the politicians and people are saying the economy's doing well. It's not terrible, but I'll tell you, it's not doing well. There's not good economic data across the board at all. The job growth in Las Vegas year over year has been really a roller coaster, especially in July and August. Overall, we've declined 43,000 jobs in October of 2014 to 28,000 jobs in July of 2016. We've dropped almost half.
Wow.
And, we're projected this year to appreciate 9.60 in Nevada this year.
Mm-hmm.
Homeowner equity and consumer psychology is really average. I mean, if you look around, people right now, like I said, it's stagnant where it's not really going up. It's not really going down. It's just like, well, we're kind of satisfied, but we're going to kind of sit on the sidelines on a lot of cases because we don't know what's going to happen with the market.
Well, you're absolutely right. A few years ago, our income for every household was about 56,000, but now we're only at 51. But take a look. That has not grown since 2006.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is that you got to pay attention to this stuff. This will affect you. It'll affect your purchasing power. It'll affect, obviously, if you do lose your job or something happens within the job market, you want to pay attention to that because that tells you really what the economy is doing at a state level and even at a city level. So you want to pay attention to these things. These things are important. We always talk about home affordability, right? Mm-hmm. It's what money do you have left over after you get into a mortgage to pay all of your bills. And we've seen that a lot of people now are starting to become smarter when they're trying to buy a home. They don't want to be mortgage broke. They're not taking advantage of the 55 or 60% debt ratio that's offered from some of these investors. I commend those people. What do you think?
You know what? You're absolutely right. I mean, everybody that we work with, even though they're qualified for $400,000, they still want to be at $300,000. They have a certain dollar amount that they want to be. So they don't even care about the purchase price. All they care about is what their monthly payments are going to be.
What it weighs down to is, like you said, monthly payment.
Yep.
And what are you getting for the return on your investment? If your property is low and they don't fit the criteria of an individual buyer,
mm-hmm.
then they're willing to go up a little bit in price.
Yes.
But they're not willing to go up where it's obviously a position where they're putting themselves in, where they're like, you know what, my payment's now double. I'm buying the house that I want, but now I was going to pay $1,000. Now I'm at $1,800.
Yeah,
they don't do. I mean, that's where they back away.
Yeah,
consumers are smarter. Millennials are starting to become smarter. They have all the technology, all of the data that's on their fingertips online to find out all these things that's going on. And I commend everybody out there because the people I'm working with now, the problem is that I don't think the average wage earner has actually adapted to what the property appreciation levels are at here now. You have to have 2 or 3 buyers. I have somebody right now from California that's moving here, had to add her mom and dad because here's the thing. She can't qualify for the house that she wants with the payment that's required.
Wow.
And that's the problem. If you're kind of bought out of the market. What we talked about is that's when short sales come back.
Mm-hmm.
That could be your potential out.
Yeah.
You buy a short sale, you might be able to buy it for a lot less than what you're buying it for an existing or new sale home.
So it sounds like we're almost topping off at the price point of $240.
Well, I think we're topping
based upon the income.
I think it's going to be an even keel where, like we've talked about, it's going to be stagnant because we're going to wait and see what happens with the election. We're going to wait to see what happens with rates. I don't think they're going to raise rates. I think they're obviously going to cut rates and have negative rates before they're going to raise rates. Because listen, if they were going to raise rates, they would have already done it.
Yep.
And we've talked about this before. Again, they had another meeting. The September meeting was Friday.
Yep.
Still economic weak data. They can't do it. If it's data dependent, every sign shows that they cannot raise interest rates. They're going to stay right around where they're at, 3.5% to 4%. And we're going to see this probably for the next few months or I would say the next 6 months where we don't know what's going to happen.
Well, it just depends who gets elected.
It does. And you know what? Every time the election happens, what happens after election?
Economy tanks.
Economy tanks. They come in, they, brush their shoulders off, boost themselves up, pound their chest and say, we recovered the economy.
Yeah, we recovered, but we need your help.
Change, all these things that go on. Where's the change? It's the same thing.
You know what amazes me? They've already printed double the amount during the Obama administration. Yeah, administration. But if we take a look, the national debt is really not at 19 trillion. It's over 100 trillion because they don't count Social Security and Medicaid.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. We have somebody coming on next week. They're going to be doing a fundraiser. So they're going to be taking our time up. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're here every Saturday now from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on News Talk Radio KDWN. We're here to make you smarter home buyers and shoppers. We'll talk to you then.